Welcome to Insights. I'm Eric. Thanks for stopping by. We're going to talk about Bitcoin today and a little bit about Ethereum. Mostly Ethereum is driving the discussion, and an open discussion for the Bitcoin report. Give a chance for everyone who's looking on, thinking what's going on in there and what are we doing, a chance to see what's taking place. Bitcoin is an important discussion inside the matrix. You can see it here. It's down right there. It is. We track ETHE and GBTC. These are primary trends that have been up for 8 and 10 months, 128% and 199% gross. And you can see why we're talking about this is breakout to the downside on the daily. That knocks the composite trend out of alignment. Crypto, or which we have down here, is an important discussion inside the entire matrix. It's consolidated and reflects risk on, and it's also a trend with an agenda, which we have talked about more. We're not going to talk about that today. We can only encourage people to watch this, to subscribe to the Bitcoin report, to understand what that means, as well as the importance of the trends that are taking place and some of the cycles that are coming due. We're going to briefly touch on those today. It is the composite trend that's fallen out of alignment in Ethereum that we're focused on. You can see the balls are out of alignment. We have a reset. Now we have to wait for a reset. Actually, we don't have a reset. We have the trends that are falling. Two are up and one is coming down. And we're going to have to wait for that one to come back up again. And that's what we get when the evolution of the trades a reset. It's going to be a short one or it could be long. The daily cycle. Here's the Ethereum count. There's 32 of them in the database. This is drawn from the lead D column here. You can go look it up. We're just going to make this a fast update. This is an 18 count for the average daily impulse that's down. Current is red or green, sorry, green. Unshaded is a bear phase. The shaded is a bull phase, and the current is unshaded. So this is a bear phase. This is a bear phase only on the daily, which then knocks the composite trend out of alignment. Bitcoin is still triple up. It's considered mid-cycle. It's right at the medium. It's relatively early mid-cycle, so we don't know what to make of this. Other than Ethereum tends to lead on the upside. You can see Bitcoin's daily trend is still up. It's still above the dotted line, but there's not a lot of room before it falls over. The intermarket trends have always been interesting. We always refer to this, trying to watch this closely. The spread between Ethereum, which is the leader of the altcoins, versus the premier Cadillac is falling, which is unusual during the rally phase. Bitcoin often does not lead, Ethereum does, but it is this time. And I suspect, or we suspect, and the computer is also warning us that there's a trend with an agenda here. The same agenda that I don't think the people with the laser eyes and the rocket ships going to the moon are going to pick up on. So this is the next thing we also focus on, other than the alignment, and then we talk about the backdrop, is energy. Energy for Bitcoin is the only thing that exists. We get energy builds right here. You click that right there. You're going to get this chart here. You can see it's pretty bullish. It's above the dotted line, really the zero line, which is really comes across here. It's not dotted, but if it's concentrated, it's above 0.6 or 60%. We are still at right 35, 31 on DI, and here's DI2 at 28. So what's been noticeable is that DI has been rallying has been rising or hanging in there. In this case, it didn't rise, but it's hanging in there. It's pretty bullish, still well above zero as price rises. We'll see what now energy does on Friday as price declines. This is going to mark the Tuesday from one Tuesday to the next. That's unknown, but we'll find out if this accumulation continues or something's changing. If it continues, it's only going to get stronger. It is the reversals for Ethereum that we're watching. That ETHE is currently priced at 25.21. That's the ETF, or at least was the pink sheet at one point, probably is converted to an ETF. You've got reversals above here. You can always check these out in the reversal tab inside the matrix. This is for Bitcoin. Ethereum's right up here. You copy those over. You don't have these charts. We talk about these in reports, but you can see where the price is. It's really chopping. That's Ethereum, but Bitcoin's not chopping. It is broken above that reversal of 48.21, 49.71. Current price is 57.49. That's a big jump. We call that jump in the creek. The real question is, why is Bitcoin way ahead of Ethereum? That's a good question. The next thing we always focus on is seasonality. When we talk about Bitcoin in particular, because it's got the longest seasonal pattern, Ethereum only goes back to 2015. good strong period is really between January, but then it really picks up between this February and May. Some weakness in the slowdown during the summer months. Then it picks back up again, but that's not going to do much good if something else happens. Remember, the Hunt brothers told us once when you're accumulating in a market and they change the rules, you can get caught. But same thing can happen with Ethereum and Bitcoin, Bitcoin in particular, especially a trend with an agenda. We're not going to talk about that agenda today, but it's deep and it's pretty serious, and I think it's being underappreciated out there by the true believers who are getting a bit delusional about this asset class in particular. It's likely not going to change governments, not going to end the Fed. If the government form does change, which we suspect is going to, there'll be increasing pressure for that coming forward. We're going to talk about that in other reports, the ES report in particular, which we talk about the cycle transition that's coming economically. We follow a thing called the EAC, which is the Economic Activity Composite. The computers map that out for quite some time, and there's some cycles, and there's an important change. There's cycles, and there's sub-cycles, and there's two of them that are aligned here in 2024. They're flagging us, and it'll be interesting to see how Ethereum and Bitcoin handle that, and honestly, how all assets inside the matrix are going to handle that. Once that economic cycle flips down, you got to get the timing of that precisely. It's going to have an effect on a lot of things inside the matrix, and a lot of things could either go in the opposite direction, or they could just at first knee-jerk reaction will be to risk off, and that'll be quite an interesting setup for Bitcoin, which is already has triple digit returns already. But it's still out there in the future. It hasn't taken place yet, but and then maybe we get up into the May time frame within the seasonality. These are the things that we're going to discuss in the ES report, and a lot of these reports are linked to one another. Bitcoin is an important discussion. Right now, it's really a patience game because Ethereum is turned down. Bitcoin might fall. There's not a lot of ticks left in the Bitcoin trend. We can see that here. Well, it's right there. We're falling towards the dotted line. Once we get below, then the daily or the tertiary trend falls below. Then the composite trend, which is a function of the daily, weekly, and monthly trend, they fall out of alignment, and then trends get vulnerable. Anytime you fall out of alignment, you usually want to take some profits. If you're in Ethereum, or you back away from leverage, but a lot of people don't observe that because they don't study anything other than the daily trend that they're trading, because they're all related. Trends have to be focused, and then they have to follow cycles. A trend like Bitcoin is now mid-cycle. It's still focused, but it's not as early. It's aging. At some point, it might even get to late cycle, and those become dangerous. They become unstable because the cycles are unstable. These are all things that we talk about in this report, but really it is the conclusion now that we have to enter towards patient alignment. Is follows at least the daily cycle now. You're going to have to turn the trend down, then you're going to have to turn it back up. And when it turns back up inside the evolution of the trade, we call that a reset. And it's marked over here inside the codes for phases. It'll be highlighted yellow. Those are all good things. Those are all good things for the bull, but we're still not there. We're away from that. It might jump around. You might get a lot of resets if the daily trend downtrend is weak. We'll find that out, and we'll know that when the energy builds get updated on Friday. It'll be a sizable energy build if this spikes upward into a decline, this decline that we talked about here. Is there accumulation? We've had pretty stable accumulation, some noticeable, some stable, slight distribution, but into a rally, which is unusual. What happens if we get increased accumulation? What happens if we get distribution? These are all things that will change the discussion. That's why reports have to be updated pretty regularly. It's not a static conversation. Anyone shooting a rocket ship to the moon or quoting someone else, yeah, who knows? I mean, there's a lot of mouthpieces out there saying we're going to 100,000, 200,000, a million, infinity. The problem is everything follows a cycle and everything follows a reason. And the underlying trends that are pushing Bitcoin up right now are changing, and it's going to change the landscape of everything that we track in the matrix. That we'll define in the ES report, and that's everyone who's watching that knows exactly what we're talking about. Bitcoin is still triple up. It may not join the party with Ethereum down, but Ethereum's drop down here is a warning. It's a warning to the bulls that says, hey, careful with the leverage. Something is changing. And it's also a warning to Bitcoin because the rules might be changing a little bit over the short term. Ethereum tends to lead to the downside, even though it's lagging in the primary trend this time. That tells us that something's wrong with this crypto rally. It's different. And it's different in a way that I don't think is going to be considered, Bitcoin to infinity, but that's another conversation altogether. And I'm sure people who are listening to this the first time are saying, well, this guy's full of it. I'm not listening to that. But just wait. The invisible hand runs the show. Not you, not I, not the collective conscience, not the majority. The invisible hand is the collective conscience of everyone. That's why we have to focus on it, tune out our opinions. That's the most important. It'll change quickly, and this is the first sign that something's up. So we flagged this, and we're flagging it. We're letting you know. If you have any comments or questions about what we talked about, or are interested in the Bitcoin report in general, anything that's offered inside of Insights, contact us. We'll leave the links into the underneath this video inside, and brings you back to the website. And click and contact us. We're always glad to talk about Ethereum and Bitcoin, not because we're true believers, but because they're an interesting part of the dance that's out there called the global economy. It's not going to change governments or end the Fed or do anything, but it has a role within what's taking place. And that role is a bit more sinister than people realize. It's a role that's really pointing towards an economic decline, a decline in the empire, a battle for control. And I don't think Bitcoin's going to be standing in the end, but that's another discussion for another day. We're just trying to talk about what we see when we look at the three time frames or the fractal trends. They're out of alignment, at least one of them. Bitcoin might join the party as soon, but that's something we'll have to talk about when it comes. If you have any comments or questions, let us know. Thanks for stopping by and watching today's update. Keep an eye on Bitcoin and watch Ethereum real close, because they're an important part of the trends that are tracked inside the matrix. And those trends are facing some difficult challenges and changes in 2024, and you must be ready for them.